Hello, everyone. Welcome to Screen Peeking, part two of our Cyberpunk review. So last episode that we recorded about 5 minutes ago, we went through spoiler free. Today we're going to be talking spoilers, story, side quest, that sort of thing. Let's jump right into it. We got most of the technical stuff done last time, so right off the bat, I want to ask you the first thing I'm curious about. What ending did you get?
So I got an ending that I guess apparently 0.6% of people have gotten so far. I ended up having an ending that, in my opinion, was much like a psychological horror ending, where I try to think. I don't remember what all the choices were, which is kind of a shame, really. But I basically got sent to the space station to get my implant fixed and get rid of Johnny. So then we had a conversation in there, and I was kind of sad because I didn't want him to go, but
Yeah,
I didn't notice any option to avoid that, because I had done a few of those I guess we don't have to worry about the spoilers, but I had done some of the side missions right before where you had spoiled for me, where you get the jacket and the gun and you get his car and that kind of stuff. And I was like, damn, this is sick. And I was playing in the sense of we're pals, not because I know there was some options to talk and act like we're, I still hate you. I don't want you in my head, Johnny, kind of thing. But I played where it was I didn't like you at first, but we're buds now and that kind of thing. So with my ending, as it was continuing and I was starting to see we're getting split apart, and I don't want to be split apart. I like this guy. I want to be buds. You can live in my head forever. That's fine. Let's do that. But somehow live. That'd be great. So I went into the space station, and I didn't know there was 5 endings, like you said. So I have no idea how much this is different from all the other ones, or if it's the same. But went to the space station, had to solve the Rubik's cube, and couldn't solve it, and then all the different tests of walking on the treadmill and just doing that in loop over and over again, like a psychological horror.
That's the one I got.
Things
the
are kind of creepy, and then eventually that cube breaks and it has that loud sound and it's all like a jump scare, and that scared the shit out of me. And of course I'm on stream and I was acting all cool, but inside I was screaming. And it was I don't know. And then after that, then it was do you want to have your engram of yourself stored? Johnny's gone, he's been shredded. Do you want to have your engram stored for later or not? Or do you want to go to the Earth?
Basically become a literal object owned by Arasaka.
Yeah, or do you want to go to and just die on Earth without Johnny still? And I was like, I guess I will be an engram, because I've always thought that would be cool in real life, to be frozen and brought back to life in the future. And I'm I could see that being somehow, if they wanted to make your end choices actually matter for DLC, I could see that being a cool thing. But anyways, I was I'll do that. So I chose that one. And then I just ended with an icky feeling in my gut of just I'm not with Johnny anymore. And even reloading the save, it feels like I'm not my character anymore. Where it goes, do you want to continue the game? Do you want to explore the world more? Yeah, one more gig, let's go. And then watching those little during the credits, you see the little video audio or video logs or whatever from your friends and stuff, which I barely did any story missions, remember? So I felt very little when I saw these characters, other than Vic from the Ripper doc, right? And I was oh, that's cool. I like seeing him. And they're just their messages to you, but yeah, you're basically dead. And I was so I guess I'm dead, and I didn't get to stick with Johnny, and I didn't really feel like I had any other option other than suicide earlier, because that was the only other ending I did just to see what it was like. It was,
that's the only one I didn't do, the suicide ending.
It was sad. I didn't feel comfortable doing it. It was very uncomfortable and very did you watch it at all?
I haven't. I was planning on doing it. I just ran out of time.
Well, then this will be the last thing I say before you go. But the video recordings that the people send you during the credits, and the music that's somber and sad, and it's I was just I think I said it on stream too. I was I wanted to just see what happened, but I wish I didn't, because people
I had a couple moments like that too.
There was a recording from why am I forgetting her name?
Steve, Panam, Judy.
Judy. She's like laying on the bed on her side. You see the mascara down her face. She's crying. She's like so upset. She's like, V, like, I know you're not gonna hear this. And like, you're gone. It's just like, and she's like choking up and like stopping in the middle of her conversation. And I was
sorry to stop you. Did you do Judy's side quests?
No. So, but like even then, I was still like,
okay.
Oh damn, because I liked Judy. Like if I was to romance a character,
because there's more context to her reacting that way is the thing.
But yeah, so like for her to be like that upset and like just seeing her, like the voice acting was very well done. I felt, and it was like she's choking up, having a hard time getting through her conversation, ends up just stopping. It's just like, okay, I can't do this anymore, and kind of thing. And I was like, oh damn, like yeah. And then they kind of go on, and like all the characters, Pan Am, she's like, why did you do that? Like I can't believe you would do that, you know, and just like off yourself like that kind of thing. You're just a quitter and that kind of thing. And then different people are going, and I can't remember who it was, but someone ends up going like, see, like your choice doesn't just affect yourself, like you're affecting everyone else with this decision. And you might have not realized it, but you had a lot more friends than you realize, or something like that, right? And I was just like, I was so heartbroken. I'm like, I just wanted to see what happened, Jesus. Guys. Like, give me a break. So I thought it'd be funny. Yeah, so I reloaded the save, and then I ended up with a bug, and it took 1,000,000 years to get to the other options. But
no, I got the same ending as you at first, which the where's my mind ending, and then I was like, that was hollow and empty as fuck. Like I feel like shit. I want to see. I want to get the good ending, and then I learned there is no good ending to this game. Every ending is
you die
pretty hollow and nihilistic. Like you die in every ending. The thing is, they say it at the beginning, and it sticks true. You can't fix it. Like you have this chip in you. You are dying, and you cannot survive, and that goes up till the end. Like even there's some other ones where when you do enough stuff with Rogue, I said, yeah, Johnny, you take over my body, you and Rogue, you go storm the tower and you get through it. And that worked out a little better where I got to the cyberspace or whatever, and talking with Johnny, it gives you a choice of like, do you want to go back to the real world or do you want Johnny to take over your body? And it's basically the thing of like, because of how this chip has affected you, your body will only last like 6 more months. It's like what they said in yours. Like it's like you have cancer essentially. Like your body is killing itself, and so you can either live 6 more months and have Johnny die, or you can give Johnny your body and he can live a full life and you die. And so it's the sort of thing where like, Jesus, like I feel like it's so selfish of me to just take this body and only live a few more months with it than to just like let Johnny gain a new life and start anew and like meet his old friends again and that sort of thing. So I was like, yeah, sure, I give it to him. And that was the closest I got to what I thought was a good ending, where he made some friends. He was talking to some kid and like teaching guitar lessons, and it was like really touching and good, I thought. But it was still the thing of like, I died, like V is gone, and he's just sort of this soul in my body, like slowly changing it into himself. And every ending had that sort of hollow, like, feeling to it, which I really liked. There's the other ones where you keep your ending. You can go with Pan Am and the nomads and storm the building that way. And if you choose to keep your body in those, you can either like with Pan Am, you can go live out the rest of your life as a nomad and live with them, just with I forget their family's called, but just living in the desert. Or if you do it with Rogue, then you can like take over the afterlife and become like the legend you wanted to be.
Right.
But that legend is so fleeting. Like you have power and status, but only for a really fleeting amount of time, and you still die like everyone else. And it was, I don't know, I liked it. Like I was.
Yeah, I did too.
It was this sort of thing like, where it feels gross. And for a while I had this feeling of like, what was the point? And like I was kind of pissed off for a little bit. Like like it seemed like it was just doing that for the sake of being edgy, but I think what it was trying to do is that like the city basically kills you no matter who you are, what you do, like your status, your power, your fame, it doesn't matter. Like it'll eat you, it'll get to you no matter what. And I thought that was just kind of an interesting thing of like that world and how like aggressive and dog eat dog it is. But yeah, anyways, that's what we were talking last episode about like how dynamic the endings are. I thought that was really cool. Like where if you don't do any, if you don't really interact with people too much and you just try to do it on your own, talk to the Arasaka lady, you do get kind of the worst of the endings other than killing yourself. But like, it's only the way you can get the slightly happier endings is through hanging out with Pan Am or hanging out with man, what's her name?
Judy?
Johnny's ex. No, not Judy.
Rogue.
Rogue, yeah, hanging out with Rogue and doing things that way, which I thought was cool and it felt meaningful, and that ending is very different. Like I assume you teamed up with the Arasaka lady, right? I forget her name.
Yeah.
The porcelain bitch, as Johnny calls her, which I liked.
Well, like, I didn't see any other options, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think you need to like get some achievements with other characters. But when you do it that way, like if you're with Rogue, then yeah, you go in and like storm the building with her. You like get a bomber and like blow through the side of the building and like just take it through force. Like you're playing as Johnny in V's body again, and like that dynamic there, and you kill Smasher again and all that. Or like with Rogue, with Pan Am, it's totally different where you like drill under the building. You like steal this big like boring vehicle, cool. And you like drill under the building and then go right into it that way. And it's this really cool thing with the nomads. And yeah, I just wish the whole story was like that. I've said that so many times, but I wish the whole story had that level of depth and that level of like choice to it where my actions actually do matter, you know?
Yeah, the options you had at the end in the last, I'd say, hour and a half to 2 hours made me think and made me stop and go, wait, what do I want to choose? Whereas no other part of the game made me actually think about things that much. So that was what really made that, that's what stood out to me a lot about the end was, oh, what if I, like, can I, like, what happens if I do this thing or what happens if I do that thing? And like even the very final choice that I had, do you want to go back to Earth and die basically, or do you want to be an engram and be an item owned by Arasaka? I'm like, I guess I gotta just hope that I'll live eventually in the future and suck it up and not worry so much about them being the enemy, and like
and for me when I did that I was like, fuck that, like I hate Arasaka. I'm not like, I don't want to become an object under their control, like I'd rather die on my own terms on Earth than like be owned as like code by them,
See, like,
but I like
I chose what I would do in real life.
Choice.
And I would sell myself over and be like, I'll be an object, because there is still that like, as far as I know about life, I would assume that I wouldn't feel anything, notice anything until I was brought back, or I just would be dead forever. Kind of like, you know what I mean? Like that's where I would be like, I'll give it a shot. Why not? Ends up being like eternal turmoil. But like, I was like, I'd rather do that than like for sure I'm dead. So like regardless of who's helping me get there, my intention in the game was like, hey, if I get brought back, I can still make my own choices ideally, so that kind of thing. But I didn't know how it was going to go. I didn't know that was 100% the final option, but anyways.
But yeah, no, I like that. I like the fact where I did other endings and I kind of slowly realized like, oh shit, there's no getting out of this. Like, and I felt pissed every time they did that too. It was like genuine anger where they would said, no, you're dying, and it was like, what the fuck? Like I did all this and then this is what you give me. And then I felt that the first time like, whatever, like this is the bad ending. So I went to another, and then with Alt, the like AI, where I did everything right. I got to the end, and then Alt was like, "You're gonna die anyway." And same thing. I was pissed. I was like, "Well, what the fuck was the point?" And then, but then through that, I realized like, well, no, this is exactly what the game wants me to feel, and I think that was pretty brilliant. The way where they like set you up if you do everything right and you fight so hard for it, but it doesn't. In the end, it doesn't even matter, man. Like, I like that. I liked it. Where I was pissed, but. That was the point. Like, it's supposed to piss you off. It's supposed to be like nihilistic and shitty, and I like that. I thought it was pretty meaningful. Yeah, let's go into some other parts of the story though, because there's a lot more to it than the ending.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite character? Or sorry, yeah.
No. So favorite character. I hate saying it just because I feel like it's so expected, so normal. But like, I really like Johnny Silverhand. I love Keanu as Johnny Silverhand. I actually didn't like him that much at the beginning, because I am the kind of person who usually I'll be like, oh, that's the popular choice. I don't like this person because you're supposed to like this character. They're on the box. They're advertised everywhere or whatever, that kind of thing. And so I was like, I'm not gonna like Johnny just because of that, right? And then he won me over, and
he is very charming.
Wanted to be bros. I wanted to like do everything with him. I was totally down anytime in the side missions when you could like take the pill to let him take over. I was like, yep, let's do it. You have your date with Rogue. That's cool. You want to do this thing? Yeah, that's fine. Let's do that. And like, I'm currently doing that quest where you can like kind of get the band together to do a thing. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm just working on that right now. So I'm just having a blast with Johnny and doing like those side missions right now, more so than any. But I do like, even though that's my favorite, like I totally understand why certain people love Rogue or love Pan Am or love why do I keep forgetting her damn name? What's her name? It's Spray.
Judy?
Yes, thank you, Judy. Such an old lady name. Anyways, yeah. People who love all these different characters, like there's so many good characters in this game, but yeah, that's my favorite. What about you?
Yeah, I would agree. Johnny was super charming. I think Johnny and Rogue were probably my favorites. Rogue was super charismatic in my opinion. I liked how she was like 80 years old, to be honest, just like old as shit and still absolutely killing it. And yeah, I thought the scenes with like Johnny and Rogue on their like date and all that, I thought those were really touching and special. But yeah, no, like you were saying, all of them are super charismatic. The one that I thought it was a little strange, like I really liked Pan Am, but I thought it was weird how they kind of force you to be like absolute just like besties with her, where she kind of pissed me off at times, like where she would just kind of be like weird and pissy over small things, and I wish I could just be like, fuck off, like you're you're being weird about this. But I always had to be like take her side and be her friend with everything, where it's like, I don't want to, like you're annoying right now. However, actually, the one thing that I thought was she was the one who made me notice it, where I kept on trying to like do the romance options with her, but like I appreciate that in this game not every character is bi. Like there are characters who are just straight or are just gay, and so if you're playing one gender, like you can't romance them because of which way they lean, so I like with Pan Am, yeah, they don't exist just to fuck you, pretty much. Like, and I liked with Pan Am, like I kept trying to romance her several times and be like, Fee, just like stop, I don't like you that way. And I was like, that's fair, like that's cool, and I kind of left it at that. Whereas other characters, man, I got like jump scared with sex scenes sometimes. Where, you remember like the corporate lady from like the beginning that you talked to, and I got a message from her. And she's like, yeah, meet me at this motel. I was like, yeah, okay, sure. And I go there, and then she's just in like full like S&M gear, and then just triggers a cutscene with like no lead up and no dialogue options. Nice. I'm like, oh, I didn't want this. I didn't want to do this. It just keeps like I want to skip. I hate
Run
this.
into the wall.
Like this is so uncomfortable. I despise video game sex scenes with such a passion. Like they're always just so like
very uncomfortable.
Gross and weird, like because with their hands like kind of clipping through each other and like slightly dead eyes. It's just, I don't like it. But
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
If you want to see sex scenes, the internet's there. Like you don't have to see it in a video game.
I don't need it in my video game. Exactly. But yeah, no, that was just kind of funny, and for the most part, you can absolutely avoid it if you want to. Actually, kind of on that topic, the clouds mission, where with like the sort of AI like the doll chip stuff, I thought that was super interesting. I really liked that mission, where you go there and they hook you up with some lady, and it's like labeled as sort of like a sex worker type thing, but you never have sex with her. Like she just talks to you about like your most innermost anxieties and troubles, and it was like
I cut it off
this really weird, intense scene. Yeah. I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was interesting. It's just like a weird take on that I thought was different and cool.
My V was very like I did a couple of the options and I was like, okay, no, we're done here. We're done here. Like, you're getting too deep. That's enough. I wanted to quickly, because you were talking about that corporate lady from the beginning. She wasn't around because I did some different things. She and I can't remember exactly if she died or I think she got like moved a position or like something happened to her, and she's not a contact right after that mission where you're going to get that that robot or whatever from the Maelstrom.
Flathead, yeah.
And like the options I did there definitely affect like who you're fighting in that area, because like I fought with the Maelstrom against the corporate people, and like I told them about how there was that like that device or the malware on like the card, the virus on the card, right? And I was able to like hack and take it off, and then I was giving it to them still, and then I was like working with them on that, and so like kind of turning against her. And so then the guy that she had in like the trunk or in her vehicle, I ended up working with him instead of her. And so I thought that was interesting, because I heard from my coworker he had probably what you did, right, where he was working with the chick. So I was like, that's neat. That's kind of a cool, little different thing.
Again, I wish the whole game was like that. Like that is such a cool little branching thing.
I think they did put a lot of effort into that beginning, and I think they put a lot of effort in the end. And then they're like, okay, we have Pan Am, we have Judy, we have Rogue. We want you to do stuff with them. Okay, let's just throw a bunch of quests in there. And because we're running out of time.
And all those middle stuff, they feel like side quests. Like, that's the thing. They feel about as the same quality as like the quests you do with Rogue and Pan Am and stuff. In fact, I would argue those quests are sometimes more compelling than the stuff you did in the main story, and that like in the second act, like that middle section.
Yeah, if there aren't any boring racing side missions or side missions where you can use a glider and go into rings, then I just did this online. then I mean, it's not a finished game, right?
Exactly.
You have to have boring activities in there.
Rings.
There's no playing cards at a table that I'll never do.
I kind of wish there were some mini games like that. Like, I wish
like
they had some sort of like Yakuza style. Yeah, or even like Yakuza, where you can go to like a karaoke bar, or even if it's not a karaoke bar, but you know what I mean. Like, you can do little side things that makes the city feel more real and vibrant. Makes it feel like you can live in it a little bit more than just like walking around and going, "Whoa, that's a cool building," because you can kind of only do that for so long.
Right. I now I'm getting a little bit wishful here. Okay, I already acknowledged, like, I understand everything in the world we're in, the situation that's going on, and the kind of game they had released. I would have loved it if they had some more like underwater stuff and upgrades that could have had to do with being underwater, and not just exploration, but like could have had enemies underwater and stuff like that. Like, that would have been just a different.
I could not disagree with you more.
No, and I'm not talking about swimming, dude. I'm saying like, maybe you could like Zelda style iron boots. You're running along underwater.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Metroid Prime, for example, you're feeling very sluggish underwater at first, and then you get like this certain suit, and then you can double jump underwater, and you can like do your dodges and everything. You're feeling way more mobile. Things like that, where it's like, oh, that's sweet. There's like this. I don't know. I know it's all wishful thinking there, and it's all just what I would love to see. It just would have been cool to me to be able to have like upgrades for that. And sorry, I'm going on a rant there, but I just remember that made me think of something totally separate, totally different. Do you know what the heck on your skill tree there's like the bottom, like for your traits?
I forgot to mention that.
There's
the sixth thing. It like you hover over it and it has like a glitch effect.
And I don't know what it's for.
I assumed when you beat the game that would unlock.
That's what.
But then
I
beat the game,
it didn't.
And it didn't. Like, is it a DLC thing?
So
yeah, I don't know.
Now I need to beat the game 100% and find out if that's what you need to do. No, but like, the traits. So you have like your intelligence, your tech ability, and all that other stuff, and then you go to the bottom one, and then it kind of just glitches out, and I'm like, why? It's for something, clearly, because
they
what else is it for? So I'm very excited to find out what that is.
Me too. My guess is that they'll introduce it in like DLC or something. Like, if you don't get it by beating the game, I'm not sure what it would be, unless it is, like 100% or something. But that would be really wild and like kind of over the top, in my opinion. So another thing I want to talk about personally is Cyberpunk is probably my favorite genre. Like I don't think that would be a stretch for me to say. Like I said, Akira probably my favorite movie. Blade Runner's up there. So many things, and a lot of that is the aesthetic, but a lot of that is also what those kind of stories bring and what they mean thematically. And I personally thought that this game kind of missed the mark in terms of being a cyberpunk story with cyberpunk themes. Like, it seems to brush up against a lot of those topics, but it doesn't have a ton to say. Like, it has sort of a general, like, anti-corporation tone to it, but it kind of struggles to say, like, why they're bad, what they're doing to oppress people, and, like, necessarily showing what that means, as opposed to, like, in the game, it's mostly just Johnny going, like, Arasaka, and, like, kind of yelling about it a lot. And, like, in some senses of that, and I don't mean this to be as bad as it sounds, but it kind of sounded like, I don't know, just like an edgy teenager, like, yelling about the world without, like a rebel without a cause, you know? Like, it sort of had that sense to it where it was saying a lot, but without much actually meaningful to say. Like, it didn't have, in terms of, like, cyberware, that, like, transhumanism is a big topic to bring up. Like, what is human? The whole Ship of Theseus argument. Are you still you? And it didn't touch on that virtually at all, which was like, really? Like, even in side quests and stuff, you'd think they would touch on that a bit. Like, I was thinking about it, and to be honest, I thought from a story and, like, thematic perspective, Watch Dogs 2 is way more cyberpunk than this game actually is. And as far as what it does touch on, as I said, like, I liked the theme, I liked the idea that it was going for, but it's called Cyberpunk, like, that is its name. So there's certain expectations I have in terms of what topics it addresses and how it deals with them, and I thought it maybe missed the mark on that. And maybe some of that is I just kind of wish the game was more radical, which it's a AAA game, it kind of can't be. Like, I wish it did have more stuff to say with, like, in terms of, like, oppression by the government and like anti-capitalism and stuff, because it really, like, it would sort of bring up those ideas and then go, never mind, that's too scary, and kind of, like, walk away from it. Actually, no, I take it back. There is one really good side quest, I think, for what I was talking about with, like, it doesn't show how corporations oppress people. There was one, I'm not sure if you got it. I think it's called, like, Sinnerman. I think it's called Sinnerman, where some guy comes up to you, he's like, this guy killed my wife, and he's getting out of prison, like, I want to fucking kill this guy. And you're like, that's a pretty just cause, I'll go with you. And then the guy ends up dying because the murderer is getting transported in a police cruiser, and, you know, you come up to it, the guy you're working with gets shot and killed, and the murderer ends up like, no, I want you to come with me, and it eventually ties you in where this braindance studio is using him, where he decided he wants to die and be, like, a martyr for Christ because he found God inside jail. And they see that and go, oh, we could make a great braindance out of this, and basically convince him to, like, crucify himself with a braindance equipment on.
Weird.
And it's a really gross thing. Like, I felt that was the most uncomfortable I felt the whole game. Like, what you were saying about way. Like, there was suicide. No, it was just kind of disturbing. And the way it shows, they just keep pressing him and pushing him to do this, and, like, convincing him to literally crucify himself on a cross. And he thinks he's doing it for the people and all this stuff, and they're just making a shit ton of money off of it.
Yeah.
And, like, and you talk to the person in charge, like, this, like, the public should never see this. Like, this is disgusting. And she's like, whatever, like, I'm gonna make a hell of a buck off this. And then they, like, give you a shit ton of money for helping out with it. And, like, at first I was going with it. I'm like, this sounds, like, entertaining. And Johnny was egging you on. He's like, oh, this sounds awesome. Like, I want to see where this goes. So I'm like, yeah, sure, fine, we'll see. And then, like, when it was over, I was like, because he had me, like, nail the hammers for him, and it was like, or hammer the nails, and it was just, like, long and gross as you were, like, hammering nails through his wrists, and he was screaming in pain the whole time. And I was just doing this, like, pressing X on my controller, like, kind of want to just close my eyes and turn away, because I'm like, this is horrible. And yeah, like, I think that was the most effective it got at, like, portraying its theme of, like, this is what this studio did to this man. Like, they used him and convinced him to do this, and they're just making a ton of money off of it, and I thought that was pretty powerful.
Yeah, that sounds nuts. And that's the kind of side mission I love. It sounds awesome. I'm really excited to do it. Talking about the people and like how they handle, all the cybernetic enhancements and whether they're still human and all that stuff. And touching on that a bit, there was like the monks that are around, and they're like all about being pure, like pure human. And I don't know if you've talked to any of them, but I had like a side mission where there was this one monk guy, and he had all these cybernetic implants and like cut up parts of his body. And I was like talking to him, like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, yeah, I got kidnapped by like some Maelstrom people, and they just like cut me up and basically put all these parts into me just because they knew I was against it. And I was like, whoa, like, damn, like that's
fucked up, yeah.
And he's like, so I'm just trying to make peace with it, but they took my brother. Can you like go get my brother back before they do anything to him? I'm like, and he's like, but seriously, don't kill them. Like, don't kill these guys. They don't know what they're doing. They don't like they're just they're messed up. I don't agree with what they're doing, but please don't kill them. And so I just went and killed them all. And then the brother who I saved, he's like, thanks for saving me, but you shouldn't have done it because you killed all these guys, and like that, my life wasn't worth it for all that and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh geez, like that kind of made me regret it. And so I ended up reloading, or not reloading. That I did before I had to reload my old save and replay all that content. So when I replayed all the content and I got to that spot, I did the stealth way, and then he was happy. And I don't know if the reward was better or not. Probably was, but yeah, it was just like that. That was interesting because it was like. Talking about how like how other people could even just pick on people who didn't want to enhance their body at all. It was like yeah, it was a monk, but it could have been just anybody, and these Maelstrom people are all focused on enhancing their bodies to the point where they're basically all machine with hardly any skin and flesh, right? And the fact that they picked on the people, or this guy and his brother that had no augmentation whatsoever, just so that they could mess with them a bit. And I thought that was really interesting. So.
Yeah. I really like where some of the side quests go. Yeah, where they bring up like heavy topics and genuinely make you think. And that's, I think Nier is the only other game I've had that with where I play a side quest. I'm like, oh fuck, like that hit like really weirdly heavily than I thought it would. And I like that a lot. There was something I was going to say, but I forgot it yet again. It seems to be a common theme.
Well, guess
so
what?
Far.
While you think about it, there's a hotfix 1.05 that apparently just got tweeted out by Cyberpunk, and I was just kind of trying to skim through while you were talking about your last mission. And obviously, I haven't read through the whole thing. It's a long patch, or a long hotfix, but some of the issues that they fixed that I've noticed was like when you first get out of a vehicle. I didn't realize it was when you first get out of a vehicle, but I noticed when you go to open your menu, it would close right away.
Oh, I
like
didn't
you
notice
press
that.
it would go open close right away, and apparently that's fixed. We'll see if that's true.
Sweet.
I don't want to read through everything, obviously, but just like there's stability improvements, crash fixes, a whole bunch of other things. I'm just reading through the PC stuff right now. Maybe if you have anything to talk about, I can skim through it some more and bring it up. But
I can't remember what I was going to say before. I want to talk about the writing a bit, actually.
Yeah.
In terms of like character writing and dialogue. So one thing I really liked that they did is they sort of created a lot of their own slang for the world, which I thought was interesting, where, like refer to each other as chumbas, or like, I don't know, stuff like that. I just thought was interesting. But the one thing that felt weird to me with all that is the fact that they only ever use those slang terms. Like in a sentence that the way I would talk now, I wouldn't use slang in. They still use that slang. Like I remember one, I was talking with Pan Am. She's like, "Oh, like why'd you help me? Is there a thing?" And I was like, "Because we're chumbas, And I was like, that sounds so weird. Like no human would say that. Like I would say because we're friends and because I care about you, not because we're chums. Like that sounds so strange.
Yeah,
or
thanks,
like,
chum.
No, same. It's so weird. Or like Johnny saying like, "Oh, let's Delta the fuck out of here."
Okay, I loved that.
It sounds just kind of. It sounded kind of cool.
I started
but like,
saying it all the
fact
time.
The fact that he only ever says Delta just kind of is like it. I like it, but I wish there was more like variety. I wish it wasn't always the same terms. Or like Misty saying Choombas always felt weird. I'm like, I don't know if that's like, I don't really see you using slang in that
Right.
part, you know? And yeah, I mean, I thought the writing, to be honest, was really inconsistent. Like in most of the main stories, the main quests, I thought it was great, and in a lot of the side quests, as we touched on, it is phenomenal. But other times, it is just bad. Like there are some scenes where it really just doesn't work. And actually, in the ending where you're like in cyberspace and talking to Johnny and Alt and figuring out what you want to do, the writing there was really confusing. Where I didn't like, you know, when you talk to Johnny at some point and he's like, I want you to know, like, I'll take the bullet for you. Like, when it comes down to it, I care about you. You can get me out of your head. That's our deal.
Right.
And I was like, okay, great. And so when I was playing as Johnny
awesome.
and I got
See
to
ya.
there, I know. And then when I was playing as Johnny and I got to that point and I made the decision, like, okay, I'm going to check out. You take your body back. And then V went like, you lying sack of shit. Like, I hate you. Why would you say that? I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is what you wanted. What do you want from me? And then I was like, that's so weird. And then I tried it the other way around, and V was still pissed at me. Like, no, it was just weird and confused. Like, I didn't know what you wanted. Like, that goes against what was said before. I don't know if that's some weird, like, it's not really continuous with, like, I don't know. Or maybe it's a bug, like the wrong dialogue played. Or there's also a weird thing in the ending where all the lines just said Johnny in there, which I think was intentional because it was like, oh, you know, their personalities are blending, like they're starting to become the same person, which that's cool. I also didn't know who was talking. That was when I was playing as Johnny and got to the end. And in like the final little bit, so I don't think you would have seen it. And like that's cool, but also it makes me confused as fuck as to who's talking. And also, if I was deaf, who do I know who's talking? Like, if I'm just reading subtitles, there's literally no way for me to know, and that would be really frustrating for me. However, actually, in terms of character writing, on a totally other note, I thought the way it really shined is that, like, they all talk in such distinctive ways, you can kind of tell who's talking without even listening to their voice. Like, the side quest descriptions are usually written from the perspective of a character, and you can always tell who it is just by reading it. Like, if someone's like, fucking Arasaka, you're like, oh, okay, that's Johnny. Or like another person, like they all talk really distinctly, which I like a lot.
Yeah, and I agree with all that you said. I know I was looking down a lot, but I was listening. And I do agree. I think obviously I didn't have all that same dialogue as you, but I agree with the fact that all the characters are written in such a way that you can kind of tell who it is just by reading it. I agree with actually I don't agree with the end part because I haven't had the same end experience, but I don't know. I thought it was really, really cool to have all the different characters. I felt like the writing was fine for me, but I'm not someone to nitpick that kind of thing. I just know if I like it, what is the feeling I get at the end of whether it's a mission or a story, and do I like it? And for me, I didn't like the feeling I had, but I guess I still liked the story. And I was saying today at work again, I was like, yeah, I don't like my ending, but I don't hate the game for it, and I don't think any less of the story because of it. Like, I'm okay with not liking an ending. Like, that just happens. That doesn't mean I'd rather it was different. That just means I don't feel good at the end of the story. Like,
yeah, I definitely don't think that you're supposed to.
Yeah, like yeah, that's just it. It's such a weird thing where you can totally, you have to separate whether it's what you wanted and whether it's good, you know, or whether it's acceptable, you know, because I don't think it's right for me to say this was a shitty game or a shitty story, because it didn't end how I would feel, how I'd want it to end, so that I could feel good, you know. I just think that's different.
I think the story overall, I think, was good. Like, I think for much of it, it is kind of tropey. Like I don't think the story is particularly innovative. I like the only thing that I thought was kind of new and different was the way that no matter what you do, it ends poorly. Like it gives you the illusion of choice and the illusion of like I can make a difference for my life, and then kind of takes that away from you, both intentionally and non-intentionally. But I think overall, like the story itself was kind of like, I mean, it was good. Like it was a good story.
Yeah,
and
it was.
I think in a year that has had The Last of Us 2 and Half-Life Alyx and so many stories that legitimately blew me away and made me cry and all these things, like I never really felt particularly emotional other than like gross in a few side quests and like kind of hollow in at the end. But like I never cried. I cry in video games a lot. Like that's not really saying much. If I cry in a game, and this game didn't really do that for me, and that's not to say it's bad. Like it is a good story, but I think there's just been so many like phenomenal stories this year that it maybe doesn't shine as much as I was hoping, perhaps. But that's not like, again, I said this like 3 times, but like I liked the story. I thought it was good. It's just
like I think I'm gonna speak for you and tell me if I'm wrong though. I think we're like for us, if we criticize the story in a game, we're not saying the game is bad because we're criticizing the story. We're just talking about things we'd rather, or things that we would like better. But regardless of what the story is, it's still a good game, and it's still a good story.
I think personally, like in terms of story, I think a lot of those really small contained side quest stories were better than the main quest itself. Like what I was saying, that Cinderman quest I did, I thought that was a really powerful small little story. I thought those moments with Rogue were really good, and I thought like the side quest with Pan Am, which I did, I thought that was really great, like the way that they did all that. And I think, in my opinion, a lot of those shined more than the actual main quest itself. Which, I mean, for better or for worse, like the good news is there's lots of those short little stories, you know. I don't know. It almost felt. Or sorry, you go.
I think you're right. I've just started doing side missions recently, but I think you'll understand this completely because you're such a huge fan of smaller indie games. I think smaller stories are always better. Short stories get to the point. I
absolutely agree.
And I think short stories are the best kind of stories in any kind of medium. That's my opinion. Whether I'm just telling you a story. Hey, Zig, let me tell you the story about this thing that happened. If I keep it short and simple and to the point, it's so much more entertaining or better than me just going on for a while. And I think if I'm reading a book, or reading a story in I don't know what's a magazine, but you know what I mean. Like if I'm reading a short story or a little blurb somewhere, and I'm hearing like, beginning, middle, end, and I'm just getting right through it, I'm finding that like a nice little digestible bit of content that I find I enjoy more often than a long multi-hour thing that has so much you could pick apart. And it really depends on each person and what stuck with you and what you remember and what you don't remember. And it's so subjective in so many ways. But I find, for a story thing, I think that's, I don't know. I just don't really know what I was gonna say other than I think smaller stories are better than longer stories, and I like them, and so I think that's why.
I would agree. I also personally think that just the writing in the side quests is sometimes better than in the main story. Like I think they are small and succinct, and I totally agree that is to their benefit. Like I think part of why they shine so much is because it is just in and out. You meet these characters, you learn their thing, something happens, and then you get out, and it's just short and to the point, and it gets their thing across, and it's great. But I also think like the main story definitely has some issues that those side quests don't have. Like I think just the actual quality of the side quest would be better. But yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying about short stories. Like Akira, especially the books, is one of my favorite stories because in a lot of ways it's not one big grand narrative. It's a lot of smaller stories that are being told in this world. Like Uzumaki is another really great story in my opinion because it is just it's almost an anthology. It just has like a through line. And I think this game kind of fits within that, where it's a world and it's a really, really dense world with amazingly written lore and like so much depth in it. And a lot of those smaller stories are like, yeah, let's take this piece of the world and let's explore it. Let's see what we can do with that. And I love that. I think that's great.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say about that one. As far as story goes, I had a good time. That's what I was gonna say. There's a mission, right, where you're getting that lady out of the tub with the ice and all that stuff, and then it really, like, you can read a lot of lore on just how the what are they called? They're the medical folk that come in and they all
trauma team.
Yeah, trauma team. Thank you. You have to like put her down, and it's that whole mission that was shown with their first gameplay, and so it's one of those bits of content that they put a lot of effort into, right? For that reason. And that led me to think, like, man, that was cool to learn about trauma or like kind of get the idea around trauma team and what they do there. And like they could have had so many more story missions just if that was purely the story instead of like side content to just flesh out the world and the challenges people have with augmenting their body and the poor people versus the rich people and what they can do, things like that. Like they could have gone into that like so much with those main missions that you're like, they're forcing you to go through this stuff. That would have been way better in my mind to really like start fleshing out these different groups of people, fashion styles, ways of thinking, business ideologies and things like that. That would be so much more entertaining for me going through the story than just, here, meet this character, go blow this shit up. Now meet this character, go kill that guy. And here's this other character, now you're getting a stealth mission. Like, okay, cool. But what about this world that like is going on back there? I don't know. That was my vibe. So.
I definitely agree. I think I really wish Trauma Team played a larger role in that story, because Trauma Team was so interesting to me. Like the idea of this, like, in theory, purely like diplomatic and helping people sort of thing, where they're an ambulance service essentially, but they're also totally militaristic. Like they come in, just fucking lock it down, like stay away. Like it's almost oppressive in the way that they help people, And I thought that was so cool. And the way that they only help the rich. Like
it's a smart
you
business.
have to pay a fee for Trauma Team. Yeah. And I thought that was so interesting. Yeah. And another thing I meant to touch on like forever ago when I was talking about theme is the fact that, like, for a game that seems to criticize capitalism and like corporations a lot, it never really touches on the lower class in the sense that, like, in a world where cybernetics is everything, like, how do people, like, not everybody would be able to afford cybernetics. Like, that's just kind of the law, like how things would work. And so what happens to the people who aren't equipped with that sort of thing? How do they even function in that world that is so ingrained around that? And I kind of wish they told stories more like that, of how, like, you very much play as, like, yeah, you're a street kid, but you also have quite a bit of money. Like, you drive a nice car and you're you're pretty decently well off. You're not broke.
Yeah.
As much as the game kind of tries to call you broke. Like, I'm driving a fucking Porsche around. I'm not broke. But I wish they touched on that more. Like, if you're, for a game that criticizes capitalism and criticizes all those things, it's a strange sort of oversight. And even like when you're just seeing NPCs, like there's a bit of it in Pacifica that you see of like, here is the lower class, but a lot of Pacifica is more touching on like immigrants and stuff like that rather than just like homeless people and how would they survive.
Yeah, and I think they even touched on it a little bit with the substance over style and the style over whatever, like with their different fashion choices. And they were talking about, like, I remember there was a point or they were talking about this is a bunch of memories mixed up, so I could be wrong on certain parts of this, but I do know for sure that there was some information at one point, whether I read it or heard it, I don't know, on the like the people out in like the Badlands and how like they had like or like people who were like poor had like scrap parts that they would put together to kind of make their arms and their legs and their replacements and things like that. And I was like, that's cool. And then I heard nothing about it so far in my playthrough, and like I said, I played like basically 69 hours and have not met a poor person that was like talking about their journey in life and what they've had to go through in order to be able to walk because they have no legs or something like that, like that would...
And to be fair, I read very little of like the documents that you pick up because I don't usually like
Yeah,
playing a
same.
mission and then stopping to read for 20 minutes. Like that's so unfun to me. And
Yeah.
if anybody in the comments tries to come at me and say, "Oh, they did touch on this. It's in this fucking side lore thing." I'm not. No, that's not the correct way to convey a theme or a story. Like that's part of why Destiny's story kind of pisses me off is because like half the story is not in the game. It's in like
Yeah.
the books, and that kind of annoys me.
Written
And
text
and
is
maybe
just
maybe it is in there,
dialogue they didn't want to put
but
money into.
no, seriously. And if anybody in the comments tries to come at me and say that, I'm coming after you. I want you to know that.
Sorry, I'm not reading 30 hours of Skyrim books either. But yeah.
Is there any other like big story moments you want to touch on for the most part?
Not story wise, no.
Okay.
Oh, actually, sorry. I guess it kind of. It's like I don't know if it would be. Anyways, I'm just gonna say it. Side mission when you get to go to Johnny's grave and you're sitting there talking to him. That was. I didn't cry. Okay, I didn't cry. Okay, just give me a break. I didn't cry. I just got emotional. I got like choked up a little bit sitting there with him, talking about our lives and where we've come from. Where we've gone and. Just kind of having a heart to heart. And I was very sappy with my choices of the dialogue. Just like, yeah, I would die for you. And he's like, yeah, I did the same for you. And like just having that moment, I was like, oh, this is nice. This is nice. And then I went and finished the game and we were split apart and I was sad. But like that part in particular, just talking about that story beat, I was really into it. And there was a lot of choices I could see that were very much like, I hate you, like, fuck you, I don't want to be a part of your life kind of thing. And which would have been cool in a different way, right? So,
I think the way that they attach you to Johnny is impressive. Like, it's the same reason I thought it was really impressive in The Last of Us 2 that they managed to get you to be attached to Abby, for me at least. The fact that they managed to get you attached to what is essentially a brain tumor, like, he is killing you from the inside out, and the fact that they make you not want to lose him despite the fact that he's a cancer is really impressive. Like, and the fact that he's also a piece of shit. Like, he is like, as really someone I loved him in the game, he sucks. Like, he's mean to his friends. He he's terrible, but they make you love him despite that, and I thought that was really impressive. And actually, talking more on story, I want to say the missions where you play as Johnny, I thought were awesome. Like going back and like raiding Arasaka Tower in like that first part and like saving Alt in the second. I thought those were really, really cool missions.
Ooh, I got something to say about that one.
Did you not like them?
They were cool. I liked them a lot the first time I did them. But yeah, going back and replaying that content again. When I did my 8 to 10 hours of replaying my content because my game broke, I really did not like those missions. I didn't feel like because there's no real branching paths, right? You're really just playing that linear part. So you know what's coming. You've already played it before, and you can't skip it. And you have to go through, you have to shoot all the guys, and then there's a couple of lines that you can skip at a time. But it's mostly like you are replaying a 10-minute, 15-minute part, and you can't get past it. And I just felt like, for me, I wish you could just skip that if you wanted to, for replayability purposes. First playthrough, I loved it, and I had the same feeling. First time you're holding his gun, you're shooting that thing, and you're blasting heads through walls, and you're like, whoa, and it just one shots like everybody. You're like, I'm so powerful. Awesome. You're using the melee and blasting them, lighting them on fire. Like, that was cool. But yeah, replaying it and having that view that I don't think most people would have, I did not enjoy it. Because you're not playing as your character anymore, and you're kind of like, I know what happens, I know what he says, I know what happens at the end regardless of what you say, and it's just like a big piece of your time. And if you're limited on time, which I am on a regular, if I'm not setting time aside, I'm pretty limited on what I can spend on video games. And so to lose like 15 minutes is just it just sucks, because you could spend 15 minutes doing something else. And I don't know. I agree. It's a video game. You can skip stuff if you put that option in the game, and I wish a part like that you could actually just go, skip the whole part instead of just skip the dialogue, you know. So
Yeah, as someone who never skips cutscenes, I'm a pretty big proponent for letting games for games letting you skip cutscenes. Like, even though I never do it, I think it's a really nice option to have, and I kind of wish more games would do it. Because yeah, like you say, sometimes you replay stuff, you don't want to watch the same thing over and over and over again. And it's a bit harder when there's like dialogue choices to do that, but the reality is in that mission, none of your dialogue choices are anything. Like, it's all just flavored, like differently colored responses to stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can definitely see those getting old when you play them again and again.
Yeah, like imagine playing them like 3 times or so if you're doing multiple
playthroughs.
playthroughs.
Yeah. If you're trying to do, I've heard a lot of people say that they want to do like a playthrough for every life path, and I don't really know why you would, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't
because
either.
It just kind of seems like you'd be playing the same game 3 times. But something I want to talk about. This isn't spoilers as much. I probably could have talked about it before, but I thought that a lot of people have been criticizing brain dances and thought they weren't fun. I thought that was super cool. Like, as someone who kind of likes detective games and doing that sort of like investigating, it was simple. Like, it was really shallow, but I thought it was fun. Like, I liked going and scanning and like doing the different channels. I thought that was cool. Like, figuring stuff out bit by bit. Like, it wasn't necessarily the most engaging gameplay thing, but I thought the way that it sort of like told bits of a story to you through there as you like sort of slowly learn stuff and piece stuff together, I thought that was neat.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was really fun to do them for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably find them not very fun to do multiple times if I had to.
Totally.
100%. Same thing as the Johnny Silverhands parts, right? Like, I would just want to skip it if possible. But those are different. Like, for, I don't know, they're usually... No, I'd like to be able to skip them. I'm not going to give it a pass. Like, I think it'd be nice to be able to skip them after you've done it once, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I thought they were cool. I thought mechanically they were like, it has like a nice base. It's a really cool idea. Yeah, they didn't do enough with them, but I thought they were cool and they were fun to do. I never, by the time I was bored with them, there wasn't any more to do. And maybe there's more in side missions, but like from what I did in the story, I was like, okay, I've had enough of this, and I never really had any more. So that was fine.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Another thing I thought was cool, I said before, I didn't think that this game did a great job of being cyberpunk in terms of theme and story. The one thing I did like in that regard is the way it sort of paid homage to the works that inspired it. Like, the ending that you got to, it literally just gave me a void conf test at the end, like the test they give to replicant or to people to see if they're replicant in Blade Runner, you know, where they're doing like you're in a field and there's like a dead mouse and all that. Like, that's really similar to a void conf test they give in the first movie.
Oh, really?
And that was cool. Yeah, where they're talking to Leon and he's like, oh, you know, you see a tortoise and it's on its back, but you don't do anything. You just look at it. And then the guy's like, oh, why would I do that? And it's like, it's a cute little reference. And there's a lot of cute little references. Like, there's like graffiti that's in Akira around in there, or there's different stuff like that. Neat. The bike designs, some of them you could tell were pretty like inspired by like Akira's bike designs and stuff like that. And just cute little homages and hints like that. That was like, I appreciate it. Like, you are called Cyberpunk. Like, when you title yourself that, like, it's nice to like give a bit of respect to what came before you in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you get to experience a tie to a character in a game that
I did. I know what you're talking about.
With the Delamain vehicle?
That was Portal 2. I don't know if I've talked about this. Is one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah, I was like, that's amazing.
I like jumped out of my seat. I had Tesla in the room with me at the time. And I was like, Tesla, come here. It's fucking GLaDOS. Like, she's in the game.
As soon as I heard the voice, I was like, is that GLaDOS?
Oh, shit. Yeah, that was awesome.
And then,
and I think they like pulled mostly lines like from the original game. I don't know if those were like original lines recorded by Ellen McLean. Yeah, maybe it's half and half, but a lot of those lines, I'm like, I recognize that tone.
I liked even like and there's no cake at the end or something like that. It was
yeah.
I was like, that was when I was 100% sure because I hadn't played in so long. But I was like, pretty sure this is GLaDOS, but. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and there's like another reference to like Hell 9000. I think in that mission where there's the one, the card bird's like, come in, like come sit inside, and talks to you and like manipulates you for a while, and you're like, ugh, you get out like kind of creeped out. But like that was cool. That whole mission was awesome. The Delamain stuff. I honestly forgot about Delamain. I should have mentioned him. He was one of my favorite characters in the game.
Yeah, he was great.
I just like I finished all his stuff pretty early on, so I kind of like forgot about him. But yeah, doing that, and then like the mission where all the AI cores like kind of start taking over.
Yeah.
What did you choose with that?
So I had 20 intelligence, so I was able to choose to converge all of his personalities together into one.
Nice.
So for me, he basically was like, okay, I am all myself. I don't feel like I fit in with this world and with this place. So I have created an offspring. I have created a child for you and you alone, and it will stick with you until the day you die. And I am leaving. Goodbye, kind of thing. He pieces out, and then you basically get in the taxi cab. And I haven't checked to see if I actually got that vehicle, but I might have gotten a taxi cab vehicle, because then like you get inside, and then you're talking to basically his child and the baby Delamain, and they're like, really, yeah, I don't know why I'm here, but I'm here with you. Like I'm your pal, and that was cool.
That's really disappointing, because that is exactly what happened to me by choosing to kill Delamain.
What?
where I mean, he didn't say like, oh, I have to go, but I said like, yeah, like Johnny was like you're killing like actual sentient people if you're choosing to like erase them for Delamain. Sorry, there's a fly. And so I was like, you know what, you're right. And so I shot the core, and then it's like, sweet. And then, yeah, same thing. The like baby Delamain in the taxi was there talking to me, and I got that taxi car.
That is so... Yeah. Okay, that is so... Like, this is real life right now. That is disappointing. I am so...
I know! I heard you say that. I was like,
oh. This very minute, this last 60 seconds, I've been so excited to hear what happens if I don't do my option. Why the hell did I have a 20 intelligence choice? Right? I maxed out my intelligence for nothing? No. But like, other than the perk?
Yeah.
That is
just man.
That's a bummer. Well, that's another one, I guess.
That is a great example of a lot of what we've been talking about.
Yeah, the game is a fun one playthrough. I would never start a new character.
Agree. Me neither.
I'm looking forward to completing the game as close to 100% as I can get before I get tired of it or go on to something else. But I'd say the best games out there are the kind that you can restart easily and enjoy playing through 100% again.
Games that get better when you replay them, to be honest, would be what I would say.
What was that?
Like something like, in my opinion, I think games that are better upon replay, like Nier Automata, like, I mean, you have to replay it to get the whole story, but like even after doing all the endings, like getting all the endings again, still it hits harder I've played through all the endings probably 3+ times now.
Yeah.
With that game, and every time I play it, I enjoy it more, and the emotional beats hit harder.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily see this game doing that. Like the main story is a fun roller coaster. It's good, but it's not particularly deep or anything. Like it's just good, and like it's not particularly branching or dynamic either. So you see it once, you kind of see the whole thing. I'd be interested to watch cutscenes of like what does the first 20 minutes look like for the different life paths, but outside of that,
yeah. So like I think there's a few things, right? Like you said with Nier, there's what's that one indie? It was like the samurai with time traveling kind of game that like
Katana Zero.
Yeah, Katana Zero that I really enjoyed that you suggested. Like that one you could replay a couple times and have a blast with it, right?
Yeah.
And it's also easy to start. You start and you're into it and you're already making choices and you're playing through and you're doing your thing. Dark Souls, I'm obviously a huge fan of the Souls games, but like you can start, and if you don't want to worry about your character, you can just start, make your character get going and start doing something different. Use different weapons, use a different build, and you can start a playthrough and end a playthrough and restart over and over real quick. And I feel like that's a strength that those games have. I think that it's the same even with Skyrim as like a kind of more similar RPG style game. I think Fallout does it a little slower, but Skyrim actually you can like kind of get going to the point where you can go travel the full world pretty quick. And I feel like now I'm going off of memory because it's been a while since I was at the beginning of Cyberpunk, but can you do much in the open world before you get to the splash screen? Like,
I don't think so. No,
I don't.
Or until you get to the splash screen, I think so. You can do a little bit.
I feel like you have to play a decent amount of the game before you can actually do much else.
Yeah, no, the game definitely opens up after that, I think.
But yeah, it's
yeah.
I'd say that's like right now when I think of restarting the game, I think of all these hours I have to put in before I'm actually at the point where I feel like it's a different playthrough than my current one. And that's what makes me not want to do it. And I feel like that's a negative.
And I would recommend for you, like, look up a guide on how to get the other endings, because it's sort of obtuse. Actually, not really. Just hang out with Pan Am, hang out with Rogue, and then get the other endings, because you just go through, like, you get to the point of no return again and just do that again and make different choices. I would recommend doing that because all the endings are so different. I think it's worth that. But yeah, I definitely don't see myself replaying it. To be honest, I don't know how much more I'm actually going to play. Like I said, I think I'm almost 50 hours in, and that's honestly a lot for me in a game, and I feel like I will likely check out very, very soon, if not directly after this, because I'm kind of starting to get tired of thinking about this game, just because.
Yeah.
And some of that's the game itself, and some of it is this is the first major review we've done, and so a lot of mind share has been going into like, oh, what am I going to say, especially since it's a game that I have a lot of criticism of, but I don't want to sound like I'm just trashing on. Like I've been thinking about it constantly, and I think I want to take a break from it that I don't necessarily see myself coming back from.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a bad thing. Like 50 hours is a lot. I've invested more than I do in most games into this game, and I liked it. Yeah, I just
I think you've been fair with it.
To do 100 hours.
I think we've been more fair with it than a lot of people have been personally, but yeah, I don't.
And to be fair, I have a lot of really nitpicky bullshit in my notes that I went, I probably don't need to say this, because it's all just bias. Like there's a lot of
like
shit that I would have liked to see.
Conversation, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I would have liked to see that this game didn't do, but I'm not gonna put in a review because it's pure bias. Like it is. Oh, I didn't like the fact that this game doesn't have an Akira bike pisses me off, and that is not the game's fault. It is just my pure fanboyism of Akira showing. Yeah. It's stupid stuff like that. But yeah, I hope I especially judged it fairly enough, because I don't want to sound like I'm just trashing on it. And this was, I think, a much more positive episode than the last, because the story, I think, is what this game does best, more than probably anything else. It's side quest writing, and the overall narrative, like I said, was good. That's probably the best thing I have to say about it. Like, for the game as a whole, this being part 2, I think I would give this, like I said we wouldn't score, but I think I would solidly put this in that like 7, 8 out of 10, like good range for me, just because I liked it. I enjoyed my time with it. Like I said, I played more of this game than I do most games, but it's not really a game I see myself going back to. It's not a game that like was amazing or a masterpiece in any way to me, and that's a little disappointing, because I think that it could have been.
Yeah, I'm not going to give a number.
What about you? Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to say 7 out of 10. I just like, as far as a word, I think it is good. I enjoyed it. It's just like, I think if they cut out a lot of the bullshit and replaced it with stuff that was better, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. It's just like, there's so much stuff that bogs down those really, really incredible moments and even stuff like in those incredible moments, I showed you this clip, I think, or talking about it, where in my ending with Johnny, where he was teaching some kid guitar lessons, and he was in the car, and it's this moment, like a pretty touching scene, and then there's a crowd of people, and the car just fucking hammers through him, and there's a lady stuck in my windshield. I'm like, okay, well, like, and I'm laughing out loud because it's funny, but like it ruined the scene. It was a touching scene, and with all that stuff, it just sort of drags the experience down for me overall. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually I never mentioned my gun in the head clip.
Yeah.
This is a spoiler video, I can mention it, but yeah, like having that sad moment where
Jackie.
Yeah, I kept thinking Johnny, and I was like, I know it's not Johnny, but yeah, when Jackie dies in the car and he's like reaching for the chip in his head to give it to you, and the models in the game swapped his gun into his, so basically his gun replaced the chip in his head, so the gun's like stuck in his head, and he reaches up and he grabs it and he's holding it out like this. Right, like this, and the bottom of the gun's there, and just kind of comes out, and you're just like, here you go, like take the chip, and you take it, and you put it in your head, you just put the old gun in your head, and it was like, I was laughing, just like, it was such a funny part for me, but I was like, this is definitely not sad. The only good part was that I already knew he was going to die from their gameplay trailers, or from their different
trailers. Yeah. Why the fuck did they show him die in those trailers?
Totally
that is insane to me.
It would have hit totally different.
Yeah, seriously. If I didn't know. And I'm kind of sad he died so soon. Like, maybe that's the game, but I feel like he was one of the more enjoyable and like fun characters in that game. And one of the only reasons I wouldn't say he's one of my favorites is just because I got so little time with him to really like get to know him. And I wish he was there longer. Like, I think him dying was like a really great narrative choice. Like, it hits pretty hard. That was the closest I got to like welling up in that game. But
my situation was not.
Yeah, no, seriously. But yeah, I wish they give us more time to like actually get to know him and connect with him. And that death probably would have hit a lot harder. And I think, I don't know, I just kind of missed having a character as fun as him in it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just, he's so likable. I didn't want him to die, but yeah, I missed his presence throughout the rest of the game for sure.
I agree. Well, we should wrap this up.
Yeah, I have to pee real bad.
Well, I want to quickly say as we finish this here, okay. Ziggy and I have plans for January 1st. I believe that'll be next week when this airs.
Yeah.
We're planning on doing our own game awards, our own personal. So we're gonna have a few categories and then kind of give our own awards out, basically, including, of course, Game of the Year. And these are not going to be from the nominees of the official Game Awards thing. These are gonna be for us. It could be any game. For any of these categories, and it has to come out in 2020. That's it, right? So,
No Among Us.
Do we want to say if this should be like? Does it include games that were updated? Like, I'm not going to choose Fortnite for anything, but for example, Fortnite, right? Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
or
I think we'll figure it out when it comes time. Yeah, we will need to talk. Like, for reference, Nick and I have barely talked about this off air. We haven't really had time.
Yeah, it's true.
And again, this is still a few weeks away for us in our current time. But we'll figure it out. We will have an award. Get ready for it eventually.
Get ready for it. That'll be fun.
Get ready. But yeah, look forward to that. The week after, I think we're doing another double recording. Then the week after that, we're going to be doing, like, what we're excited for in 2021, and I think maybe some like Metacritic score predictions, which should be fun. And I'm gonna win. Just throwing that out there,
I'm pretty sure Cyberpunk's at 89 now, dude. I think you're wrong. I don't think it's at here. No, let's figure that out right now, because the last episode, which I wasn't able to air because I screwed up and didn't get the audio, I had to.
Damn it! It's an 87 now. Oh, I guessed like 85 the first time too. I should have.
I'm sorry.
I should have stuck to my guns.
We have your answer, and it is a 90. And you were right last week, and I was upset because you won.
God damn it!
And now I can say, haha, you're also a loser like me. So.
God damn it!
Think about that for a while when you go to bed.
I'm just so disappointed with that. Because I was so happy with myself. I hit it right on the head. I was feeling powerful.
Yeah, it'll change again. Anyways.
It's all 2/4's fault. They gave it a 40 on Metacritic.
Damn
bastards.
Never heard of them.
Anyway, with that, thanks for watching. You can find me anywhere. You can find at Ziggy Hickson. You can find Nick anywhere at Nicolobe. Links are in the description. Like, subscribe, do all the good stuff. We'll be here every week, except for the weeks that something goes wrong and we can't.
Because of me.
But we'll do our best to be here every week. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Oh, and keep peeking that screen.